Straight ahead on CCX News, a nonprofit meal delivery service that helps shut-in seniors braces for federal cuts.
If we don't have these programs, they could live in isolation.
Plus,
you feel like you're saving lives.
Area schools face a growing need for reading and math tutors. And later, you'll meet a nurse from Maple Grove who will soon have all of her coworkers cheering her on. CCX News starts right now. Hello and thanks for joining us. A popular program that helps homebound seniors is in danger of losing federal funds.
The Trump administration wants to scale back or get rid of certain public assistance programs such as Meals on Wheels. We get more now from Eric Nelson. Eric?
Yeah, Alex and Mike, for some older residents in the northwest suburbs, Meals on Wheels is more than a luxury, it's a necessity. These proposed cuts would affect daily food deliveries to their homes or their ability to get meals at community centers and other places. At CEAP and Brooklyn Center, officials say the cuts would have a major impact.
The notion that we could have reductions in federal subsidies and federal funding for Meals on Wheels is really hard to hear. It's hard to hear that we as a country are even considering less support for our seniors.
Now, Meals on Wheels also lost another kind of federal funding in the form of community block grants. Local cities decide how that money is doled out, and both Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park are cutting back on block grant funding to CEAP by 20%, with the funds going to other organizations. CEAP's challenge is finding a way to keep Meals on Wheels up and running so they can continue to provide food to those who are isolated and in need.
For a lot of our seniors, this is a hot meal they wouldn't have otherwise. I know my mother-in-law, if you let her, she'd live on cookies. However, we have a hot, balanced, nutritionally sound meal, but it's the community contact. Sure. It's the safety check. It's knowing that Mary's okay.
Because of this possible 1-2 punch, CEAP is exploring other funding options. Currently, Meals on Wheels serves 135 people on a daily basis. Alex and Mike?
All right, thank you. Well, we now know more about the cause of Wednesday's evacuation of a medical office building in Plymouth. Firefighters were called out to the City Center Professional Building for a report of a sewer gas odor yesterday morning. Several workers had complained of watery eyes and itchy throats, and about 36 people were checked by North Memorial personnel. It turns out the culprit was clothes soaked in an unknown cleaning mixture.
A steel company currently based in New Hope is on the move to Rogers. Midwest Steel and Aluminum is relocating in a $5 million expansion. The company plans to build a 55,000 square foot office and distribution facility in Rogers, and that's double the size of its New Hope space. Midwest Steel and Aluminum says the move will allow it to hire 15 additional workers. Today marks the 100th anniversary of when the United States entered World War I by declaring war on Germany.
For a span of 18 months, more than 2 million Americans were involved in the so-called Great War. 568 men and women from Hennepin County died in the war, and it was their sacrifice that led to the creation of the Victory Memorial Parkway along the Robbinsdale, Minneapolis border. The tree-lined parkway honors the fallen soldiers with flagpole memorials, plaques, and other tributes. This is one way to preserve their memory and teach younger generations about their fight for freedom.
We have to keep letting people know about it, because they shouldn't forget it. And our younger generation isn't being taught the history that they were taught at one time. Plus, life has changed so much.
The Victory Memorial Parkway opened in 1921 as part of the Grand Rounds National Scenic Byway. The first Americans went into space more than 50 years ago.
7 men passed the rigorous testing for NASA's Project Mercury, and so did Mary Wallace Funk.
He said, "You're a girl, you can't do that." Isn't that incredible? A guy told me that. And then I said, "Don't you ever tell that to a girl again." Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wally Funk, as she's known, was one of 13 women who passed the test but never got to go to space in the 1960s. Funk spoke to students at the School of Engineering and Arts in Golden Valley about strength and perseverance. Now in her late 70s, Funk is an aviator and the first female hired as an air safety investigator for the NTSB. She's still working to get to space.
I was born with ability, a very good attitude. I had very forward-thinking parents. I had no fears. There were never any fears in our family. Mother would say, if you fall off your horse or your bike or whatever, or fall down, you kiss your wounds, lick them, and don't come running home crying to me.
Funk is on the list to fly into space aboard the Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 program that's funded by Sir Richard Branson. Well, local schools are in need of reading and math tutors.
The need is growing, especially in places like Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center. Reporter Shannon Slatton explains why.
Okay? All right, this is going to be our fourth read.
Learning how to succeed in life often begins here.
Begin.
He ran down.
With learning how to read.
Mom, Dad.
Literacy tutor Hillary Rowe knows her small role helping students now could make a big difference later on.
It's probably the most rewarding thing I've done. I mean, I feel like I'm literally saving lives, because if these kids didn't learn to read, then they're not going to learn the rest, and that's a pretty bleak outlook.
I want you to start reading.
We really know that reading is the foundation of every other subject.
So what's that word?
The Minnesota Reading Corps helps students become proficient in reading by grade 3.
That's good.
1 times 3?
The Minnesota Math Corps helps students in grades 4 through 8.
Let's try 5.
There's a growing demand for this program
All right, 2 times 13.
and their tutors.
This is our largest need in our more than 14 years in Minnesota. So every year we get a little bit bigger. More schools are looking for our services, and we know that there are children all over the state of Minnesota who need our support.
So what's the story about?
In Brooklyn Park schools,
Very nice.
41 tutors are needed.
Ready for another one?
In Brooklyn Center, 14.
All right.
Tutors are trained,
130.
are paid,
6 minus 0?
and come from all walks of life.
Yeah, there you go.
Each committed to working with students on a full or part-time basis
So here we go.
for the school year.
We have high school students, our high school graduates who are looking to take a gap year, college graduates who are interested in maybe pursuing education, parents who are looking to get back involved in the workforce and find that serving in their child's school makes a big difference.
Excellent.
Or just those folks who are looking to make a difference in their community.
In Brooklyn Park, Shannon Slatton, CCX News.
Tutors are hired on a rolling basis. You can find out more on our website, ccxmedia.org.
Still ahead on CCX News, a nurse from Maple Grove will soon trade hospital garb for a big night on stage.
Plus, a young Armstrong baseball team gets set for what they hope is a big season. We'll preview the Falcons.
But first, don't be surprised to see your coworkers try to sneak out of the office on Friday. It'll be 60s and sunny. We'll be right back.
When you think of superheroes, you may think comic book characters complete with capes.
True, but in the real world, heroes are courageous people who sometimes save lives. As Delane Cleveland reports, a Maple Grove woman is using a special platform to spread the message that heroes don't always wear capes.
So our sonographer would sit here.
At Park Nicolet's Heart and Vascular Center,
Sits on the patient's chest.
they use a team-based approach to care for the cardiovascular system of their patients.
In a different area.
Jamie Whitehead is a part of that team.
So I work in a non-invasive cardiology lab, so what that means is that we do stress testing and different cardiac procedures that are non-invasive.
This 24-year-old Maple Grove resident started working here last fall, and already she's found a home.
This team is more like a family than just a team at work, and they help each other out so much, and it's something that I haven't experienced before.
Her coworkers can probably say that they've never experienced working with royalty. When Jamie's not wearing hospital scrubs, she dons a crown and sash as the 2017 Miss Minnesota United States.
I never would have dreamed that I would have ever been crowned as Miss Minnesota. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I never would have thought this would have been for me. So it was just an amazing feeling.
Her coworkers shared in her excitement, and they weren't shy about spreading the news.
And it was actually a little embarrassing because they would tell, for the next week or so, some of my patients knew that I was Miss Minnesota because my coworkers just could not keep it contained.
Meanwhile, Jamie's hoping to spread the word about those in public service. Her platform is Heroes Don't Always Wear Capes, and it's her goal to acknowledge and appreciate emergency personnel.
They've been put in such a negative light recently, and it's my hope that we can kind of shift things around and show the public that these people, they risk their lives for us so they can keep us safe.
In July, she'll have the chance to share her platform on a national stage at the Miss United States pageant. But for now, she has nursing responsibilities to worry about.
It's been life-changing. That's the only way I can describe it.
In St. Louis Park, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
Then our stenographer can sit here.
The Miss United States pageant takes place in July in Orlando, Florida. It won't be televised, but if you want to follow along on Jamie's journey, we will have more information on our website, ccxmedia.org. Still to come, cops and kids bond over a game of hoops.
But first, Osseo and Cooper get the baseball season started in New Hope. Jay Wilcox has the highlights next in sports.
I'm Jay Wilcox with sports. The Twins open the season this week, and while many teams don't play until next week, a handful of local high school baseball teams have their openers this week as well. Season opener as the Cooper Hawks host Osseo. In the top of the second, Osseo's Adam Lanners singles to right field. Matt Bezdacek looks to advance from first to third, but Cooper right fielder Lucas Messer comes up throwing, and they get Bezdacek at third. To the top of the fourth, and a runner at third for Cooper, and they execute the squeeze as Blake Pena gets the bunt down to easily score Landon Del Cambre, and it's 1-0 Hawks. Same score in the fifth, and it looks like a possible double play ball here for Cooper, but the throw to his second is wide. Bezdacek scores easily, and A.J. Valeri comes around as well for the Orioles, and they take a 2-1 lead. The fun continues for Osseo as John Bezdacek lines one just fair down the right field line. It scores Seamus Reese and Robbie Koflat to make it 5-1 Osseo after they put 5 on the board in the fifth. In inning number 6, John Bezdacek hits a slow roller to the left side that the Hawks can't field cleanly. Nick Lyon scores to make it 7-1 Orioles. John Bezdacek pitches 6 solid innings with 11 strikeouts as Osseo scores all 8 of its runs in the last 3 innings to win it 8-3. Cooper will take on District 281 rival Armstrong Saturday. The Falcons are gearing up for what they hope is a good season. Armstrong's baseball team is back at work in Minnesota after their annual spring trip to Kansas last week.
We got a lot of young guys on the team this year, but we went down to Kansas and we had a pretty good practice, a couple practices down there, so we're looking forward to the season.
The Falcons are coming off a .500 season last spring, but one that ended earlier than they'd hoped. After back-to-back section titles in 2014 and 2015, they went out early in section play last year.
Yeah, experience is essential for us. We didn't have the section tournament that we wanted to have last year. I think we kind of peaked a little bit early, but they did get the experience. They got the at-bats. They know what section baseball is like, and they're excited to compete for the section title.
It'll be a young team overall, but the Falcons do have some key returners. Pitchers Jarek Kuznia and Mitchell Waletsky are back, along with infielders Preston Reed and Braden Gray and outfielder Alex Proctor. Pitching should be a strength.
I'm going to say that we should be a little stronger than last year. We've got really good pitching depth this year. And, I think we got a bright outlook for the season.
We got a lot of pitching staff this year, and we should be pretty solid. We got a couple young guys up on varsity this year, and hopefully they'll be able to put out for us.
The guys are excited for the season opener against rival Cooper Saturday, but Coach Sobiak knows this will be a work in progress this spring.
You know, we know that we're going to be young early, so we're going to make some mistakes, and we're okay with that. What we're looking for is growth throughout the year, and as always, we want to just compete in the section and try and win a section title.
Armstrong and Cooper play Saturday afternoon at 2 at Cooper. The Falcons are at Hopkins Monday before starting Northwest Suburban Conference play Tuesday against Spring Lake Park. Armstrong's home field is being redone this year, so home games are at the New Hope Lighted Field at 49th and Boone. Well, 1 week after the boys-girls high school all-star basketball takes center stage this weekend, 40 of the best seniors in Minnesota hit the court at Carleton College in Northfield for all-star play. Among those chosen for the series, Michaela Hayes of Park Center. The 6'3" post player is headed to Florida to play for the Gators next season. Her Pirates teammate Ann Simonette will also play in the All-Star Series. She'll play for Minnesota Duluth in college. Chris Vanderhyde, who just stepped down as Park Center's coach to take an assistant coaching job at Gustavus, is one of the All-Star coaches. The games are Saturday at 1 and 3 p.m. Sydney Werke of Totino Grace is also in the series. There's a free youth clinic for girls in kindergarten through 4th grade put on by the All-Stars and the Timberwolves and Lynx Basketball Academy. That is at 11:30 at Carleton's West Gymnasium. The boys' tennis season is getting underway. Here's a look at the first state rankings. Minnetonka tops the Class AA rankings ahead of Rochester Century, East Ridge, and Mounds View. Wayzata is rated 8th and Benilde 10th. Armstrong's Nikita Shnesko is ranked 2nd in singles. Rivals Blake and Breck sit on top of the Class A rankings, followed by Rochester Lord, St. Paul Academy, and Litchfield. Blake has the top 3 ranked singles players. Mike and Alex, back to you.
All right, thank you, Jay, and we'll be right back.
And finally, kids who came to play against the cops.
Brooklyn Park police officers took on local teens in a competitive basketball game, which was actually much more than a game.
We have our second teens and cops basketball game.
Welcome to Police versus Teens basketball. Game faces were on as they took the court. Blue is a team made up of Brooklyn Park Police and cadets, part of an ongoing effort to show who is really behind the badges they wear.
These are community members. These police officers are here to build relationships with these kids, and there's no better example to do that when these kids are engaged in a basketball game with them.
But that doesn't mean you take it easy on the court, and both sides worked hard to show what they could do.
Well, we always want to win. Nobody wants to be a loser. But I understand this is actually a rematch going on tonight. The first time the police officers did win, but rumor has it the kids came back with some ringers. Some new players are showing up tonight, so it should be interesting.
That's Deputy Chief Todd Milburn with the jumper. And the youth team answers quickly with a smooth inbounds play.
I'm just trying to get this W.
DJ Jackson says a game like this does make a difference to the kids.
It shows that they care mostly. I'm glad they're out here working with us just to improve us as young men and young women, but they're active in our community also.
And it makes a difference to the cops doing their jobs, too.
Interactions are better when police officers know the first name of a kid, or even better when the kid knows the first name of a police officer. That interaction goes well, and we know that.
Police say events like this help reduce tension overall.
When there's a mutual respect, things always have a better outcome.
And as you heard, this was a rematch. This time it was a split, with the cops winning the first game by 3 points and the teens winning the second 73-66. And there's also a little bit of old legs versus young legs.
Yeah.
I think there's some aches and pains this morning. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
See you back here on Friday.